رفتی و شکست محفل ما
America has been at war in Afghanistan for 10 years. It's been a decade filled with incredible challenges, deadly conflict, and serious lessons learned. Today, Afghanistan is a fragile place, but progress is being made, and Afghans are focused on the way ahead. Jamal Abdul Nasser Siddiqui says the way ahead is clear. As head of strategy and policy at the Ministry of Interior, the government agency responsible for developing professional police forces across the land, Siddiqui knows that what he does here is vital.
We have to work together. We have to achieve our strategic goal, bring stability in Afghanistan.
I think that'll allow us to focus our efforts.
His mentor is Colonel Todd Key, an Alabama native who never thought he'd be in Afghanistan, but then he never thought he'd be a 9/11 survivor.
I knew something terrible had happened, but I did not know what.
September 11th, 2001 changed the world as he knew it.
But somehow out of this terrible tragedy, hope and love find their way back to us.
Commemorating the losses of that day is an annual pledge for people around the world.
To us and inspire us wherever we are,
For
especially
Key,
those here in
it's highly
Afghanistan,
personal.
to ensure this never happens again.
Back then, he was a young
never
Army
forget.
strategist, learning his
God bless you.
skills, not knowing where fate and duty would take him.
I think it's a duty to my country. I think it is a tribute to those who have lost their lives, because I think if I had been on the first and second floor and they had been on the third floor, they would be here instead of me.
Afghanistan is where it began, a war on terror that introduced the world to an unfamiliar geography, its people, the culture.
Salam, how are you?
Key has learned its weaknesses and where to find its strengths.
These people did not attack the Pentagon and New York and Pennsylvania and the United States. These people were taken advantage of because of 30 years of war, civil war, and the Taliban era. And I am absolutely positive that if these people had the wherewithal to stop that, they would have. Transition is more than just turning transition from the international.
He says the time has come for Afghans like Siddiqui to lead the way forward.
We have a strategic goal. We have to achieve this goal and show to terrorism and Al-Qaeda our commitment, achieve our goal.
A goal for Afghans, led by Afghans.
We will make some recommendations on transitions. They will make the decisions.
Ryan Crocker is U.S. Ambassador to Afghanistan. Where do you see progress?
When I came here at the beginning of 2002, Kabul looked like Berlin in 1945. Whole city blocks were obliterated. We then saw security take a nosedive with car bombs in the city, all kinds of attacks and kidnappings. I just came back from a meeting with one of the ministers whose offices are downtown. The biggest problem Kabul has right now is traffic.
Traffic is a sign of progress, especially in the capital city of Kabul, where freedom of movement is dramatically on the rise for men and women. And yet, resurgent Taliban are still a deadly threat. On September 13th, as a reminder of attacks 10 years ago, an assault was launched against U.S. forces in Kabul.
In the 30 days or so prior to that attack, we had killed or detained almost 200 Taliban fighters trying to get into this city, some of whom were within hours of executing suicide attacks.
General John Allen, Commander, International Security Assistance Force.
This is a war, and the Taliban are not winning this war, and the way they will register the fact that they are not winning is to try to terrorize the population with high-profile attacks. We should expect them, we should blunt them, we should impede them, and we should defeat them.
Fighting off the enemy is at the top of the list for Afghanistan. It's a challenge Afghan security forces are taking on as they focus on the way ahead.
رفتی و شکست محفل ما رفتی و شکست محفل ما.
The price tag for 10 years of war is high. Latest reports reveal that since 2001, just over 2,700 coalition fighters from more than 20 countries have died in Afghanistan. The vast majority are American.
Costs are incredibly high. Every loss of a soldier that we suffer, there's a family back home that suffers. All of our soldiers that served with them suffer. But we have a mission to accomplish. And those soldiers, our heroes, inspire us to continue to serve and to make it matter. And lean into those checkpoints for us.
Major General Dan Allen says making it matter is crucial.
Shouldn't be an issue.
Allen leads CJTF-1, a combined joint task force responsible for Regional Command East.
As I mentioned to you earlier, the way that you've stayed after the enemy.
14 provinces the size of Pennsylvania, home to 400 Afghan tribes and a 450-mile border with Pakistan.
The struggle is there are insurgents coming in every day from across the border. While we work very hard on the local insurgent elements to convince them to rejoin the government, we've also got to deny entry by the foreign elements that want to fuel the fire. There's nothing easy in Afghanistan. The good news is the people in Afghanistan are their greatest resource, and they know that the future for their country looks far more promising than their past.
10 years ago, Afghanistan existed in the ghostly remains of a Soviet occupation and a destructive civil war. It was land ruled by Islamic militants known for systematic massacres and a deadly alliance with Al-Qaeda, a breeding ground for global terrorism.
18, I'll give you that one, that's a 19.
In 2002, when the newly created Afghan National Army first stood up, it was a force of 70,000, the country's initial steps towards self-determination. Today, a combined army and police manpower will crest at more than 4 times that number, topping off at well over 250,000.
When you talk about an army, whether it's large or small, you have to look at the geopolitical situation, the threat assessments. Right now, I think we have great threat issues.
General Sher Mohammad Karimi is Afghan National Army Chief of Staff.
So there is a threat, and that threat has to be reckoned with, and I think we need a fairly good army.
At training centers across Afghanistan, 6 regional and 1 at Kabul, the drive to create a professional army is taking shape. Some of it literally from the ground up. Driving is just one element of basic troop foundation. Currently, there are 31 different driving courses available based on vehicle and need.
It's hard for them. It's really hard for them. They don't understand the concept of taking the clutch off and doing the whole gear situation at the same time. So it's basically starting from scratch.
37 nations are involved in the training mission in Afghanistan.
What's going on, buddy? You gonna drive?
Sergeant Adam Rich says he's part of the big picture.
Go over the vehicle checks. Big picture? Big picture stuff, I see us not being here. They're going to be able to take over the course and train their own guys, so we don't have to train them.
It's a mantra being repeated again and again. Enable Afghans so they can train and sustain themselves. It starts with the basics and accelerates.
The army is an institution where people can learn literacy, can learn some vocational training, they can learn a skill, they can learn, other things that when they leave army, they can use it.
It's primary education geared for a population focused on survival. Afghanistan's security forces are, in many ways, the country's new social cornerstone. Great emphasis is placed on teaching values, ethics, and principles, guided by the laws of Islam, a national constitution, and supported by the international community. Brigadier General Abdul Karim is the Afghan Army's chief general staff legal. He says what they do here carries over.
Military law has a positive effect. It's part of the overall picture of the Afghan future because as you live your daily life, your discipline and regard for the law carries over.
It is quite possible this regard for discipline and law does carry over. Here in Lashkar, new police recruits step forward. Once they leave here, they go into the fight, emboldened with new skills, knowledge, faith in themselves, their country, and their cause.
They're trained, they're professionalized, they've got some way to go yet, and the training doesn't stop when they graduate today. We have teams out there now that continue that training and mentoring.
Stopping traffic.
Every process along the way.
Face the traffic you want to stop.
Is a sign of progress. In Afghanistan, even simple rudimentary acts are a slap in the face of the enemy.
Slow down. If we start with the simple things like road traffic, we can then build that. If we got the traffic controlled and we have good community policing at traffic points, we then gain the trust of the people, and then we can then work on to counterinsurgency, community policing, and get the greater things, the more important things. Will start from the bottom up.
Another important foundation for the future is education.
I would never have thought the incredible difference that could make in this nation. And it benefits us. We're not doing it because we're trying to build a nation and we're trying to raise literacy level. We're doing it because we need competent, capable men, some women, who can read and write and do those skill sets are so important for a professional army and a professional police force. I mean, we do it strictly to help us, but the second, third order effects are absolutely enormous.
As Afghanistan wages war against the Taliban and others who see progress as threatening, basic core training within Afghan security forces is creating a domino effect. In education, equality, stability, national pride. Permanent marks designed to touch all Afghans as they focus on the way ahead. They probably don't know it, but these workers are creating much more than sheets and socks. Every stitch is another thread in the Afghan fabric of sustainability and capability. Economic indicators on a national level. That they are women is a mark of how far Afghanistan has grown as a nation.
It allows them to earn an income. It allows them to have a skill set. It brings the men into the equation as well because it allows them to see that there's a safe environment.
The factory, which because of security will remain unnamed, is the result of a program called Afghan First, a multi-million-dollar initiative created to save American taxpayer money by stimulating local economy, helping Afghans set up businesses that supply Afghan security forces, with future prospects of consumer business. Currently, 3 of the companies are run by women. They make blankets, sheets, underwear, socks, 29 items in all.
All of our boots now, all of our uniforms, most of their equipment, all of their personal effects, bedding, linen, t-shirts, pillows, mattresses, is all now 100% produced in factories inside of Afghanistan by Afghan workers.
On the U.S. side, it's a savings of $200 million a year. For the 150 women who work here, like Runa, it's a life-changing opportunity.
Our family is a problem, coming is a self-our problem at home.
Her problem is a poor economy. The money earned here, small by U.S. standards, is enough to buy extra food or new clothes for her children.
They know they can contribute. It's a win-win situation by allowing these women to come in and work.
Establishing a business in Afghanistan comes with formidable obstacles. Materials, equipment, and in this case, recruiting female employees. Traditionally, Afghan women are required to stay home, take care of the family, maintain the household. Under Taliban rule, women were banned from public life. Having a job wasn't an option. Getting women to come work at the company is just one of the challenges that they've overcome. They've done this by providing an on-site medical clinic and child care. The entire workers' package includes transport to and from work, lunch, on-site child care, and tutoring in basic literacy. For Shakila Mohammadi, it's a vision of the future.
For Afghanistan, I want to be establish like these factory manufacturers, and we support many women and men also.
Within Afghanistan's burgeoning garment industry, this factory is one of the first. Plans for expansion are on the table. Patterns based on the possibilities of locally grown raw materials, and maybe even building a bigger, newer manufacturing site. Economic moves built around the tenets of good business, threaded with additional openings for women, sowing the seeds of future Afghan growth and opportunity.
Part of what we've tried to help them understand is that 50% of their population is female, and they represent an enormous wealth of human potential that could do so much for this nation.
Women do have their hands in virtually all aspects of Afghan society. Nazifi Siddiqui is a mother of 5. She's one of 1,200 female Afghan police.
Afghan women are brave and have courage to defend their people and country.
Learning how to handle weapons is just part of the women's training at the National Police Academy. In another part of the compound, women are taught lessons in self-defense and potential riot control. They share many of the same courses as men: first aid, use of force, search protocols. But women are still new to the ranks. The numbers are small but growing. The national plan looks to have more than 4,000 female police within 3 years.
It's a big change. I think it's a good achievement. We have females in police today, and I'm proud of them. They defend their country. We have them at the ministry and in the units.
In so many societies that are in a post-conflict era, the opportunity of bringing women into society does more to move the society beyond the problems typically in a post-conflict society in terms of both education, opportunities to build professionalism into the population, job opportunities, expansion of the economy. I think that that's obviously a very positive thing for the society, in a society which under the Taliban excluded women from virtually any possible opportunity, either for education or to participate in governance or have an economic future.
It feels good to set up business?
Very good.
Fahimi Bariki agrees.
Yeah.
She's one of multiple vendors who bring their wares to weekly bazaars hosted by coalition forces. This is basic economy at work. A chemistry teacher before the Taliban, Fahimi has since earned her master's in business, where she has big plans.
I want my company is international company. Yeah.
It's an image of growth shared by many. Personal dreams grounded within national borders. An Afghan vision for the way ahead. It's not easy to look at human damage like this, but the reality is Afghanistan is a dangerous place. It's a land of conflict where the majority of people injured are civilians. This man learned the hard way. When he was brought in, the report said he was shot in the leg and hand by the Taliban. A case of wrong place, wrong time. That's the bad news.
No problem. Just he needs to expect the lower leg after.
The good news is he's being cared for at the Paktia Regional Military Hospital.
He's got a gunshot wound to the lower right leg, tibia fracture, fractured in 2 places. His right humerus sustained a gunshot wound, and the bone is basically shattered. What they're doing with him right now is trying to attach external fixation to set those fractures for him. This hospital represents what they can do. I see the medical community of the Afghan army kind of leading the way with healthcare development in Afghanistan.
The surgeons are Afghan.
Is that better?
The mentors are U.S. Air Force, part of a medical embedded training team. The hospital was built 7 years ago on the outskirts of Gardez in the eastern part of the country. It's become known as one of the best trauma hospitals around.
May through September are the high kinetic seasons here, and we admit about 120 patients a month, 80% of which are combat casualty.
The facility itself houses 50 beds, an emergency room, a 6-bed ICU, outpatient clinics, and X-ray capabilities. Dr. Chris Linshield, a trained family physician, is the primary medical mentor.
I love it. I get to do a lot of things and see a lot of cases that I don't normally see. I mean, as a family doc, I work in the ER, but you know, military ERs, we take care of a lot of young, healthy people. We don't see a lot of gunshot wounds and IED blasts, so it's very eye-opening here.
All care is administered by the Afghan medical team.
We love to teach. We love to watch the Afghans learn and grow. They have evolved to a point where they can adequately care for these people and get them back to a good life.
As you travel through Afghanistan, signs of better life are easily visible. Goods are being transported along newly finished roadways that connect areas once considered too remote. Merchandise is finding its way to scattered communities, alive with people freely going about their daily business, which appears to be flourishing. In the southern province of Kandahar, in the district of Zari, at the village of Sangzar, birthplace of the Taliban and its leader, Mullah Umar, a very public ribbon-cutting ceremony takes place. It symbolizes the return of a village school and playground to the people and the local bazaar.
People wouldn't come here because of the security situation. And how can you have a good bazaar and good government without the security being in place? So
Command Sergeant Major Jimmy Carabello is on his 4th deployment to Afghanistan. This one, he says, is making a difference.
There's been tremendous progress here. There's 66 shops that are currently open. The people have come here in droves. This is basically a commander's campaign plan that's come to life, and it's a living, breathing thing. You're seeing visible progress. We're making an incredible difference. We're winning.
Sahari district is known as the birthplace of the Taliban, and it is still a very dangerous and volatile place. But these days, Sahari is gaining another reputation as a place of progress.
The Taliban cannot withstand that type of pressure.
It's called a reintegration ceremony, hosted by Task Force Spartan, guided by Islamic custom.
This is historic.
In this backdrop, detainees, mostly young men like these, are offered the chance to cut ties with the Taliban, to swear allegiance to the Afghan government, to their local leaders, in exchange for jobs in civil service. The audience is composed of provincial and district officials, as well as influential village elders willing to forgive their trespasses. Afghan leaders who recognize there is another way.
People are tired. Even the Taliban fighters that we saw here today, many of them told us that they are tired.
It is about getting the momentum it takes us to go over the top there, and a day like today helps to build that to a great deal.
Reintegration of Taliban foot soldiers and reconciliation of insurgent leaders is taking place throughout Afghanistan in ceremonies like this. It's a critical component in a far bigger picture.
It's a civil-military event, and the solution here is not a military solution. The knockout blow is delivered by the civil side, where we get the governance going, where we get the economic opportunities lined up, we get the economy stabilized and oriented to the future, which is going to be a challenge. This was the fourth poorest country in the world when this war started. It's going to be the fourth poorest country in the world in 2015. So we just have to make sure that to the maximum extent we can take advantage of every aspect of this comprehensive civil-military counterinsurgency.
We will be able to remove 10,000...
President Obama announced the withdrawal of 10,000 American troops from Afghanistan by the end of this year, another 20,000 in 2012.
Fully recovering...
This December, the international community will meet to reassess its commitment to the continued mission. As of now, Afghanistan will take the lead in all security platforms by October of 2014. The future for Afghanistan is filled with challenges, complex and difficult. But with the help of allies, partners like Colonel Key, whose fate with Afghanistan was woven 10 years ago, it's a vision Afghans can reach as they focus on the way ahead.
And it's worth the investment. It is absolutely worth the investment.